Hi, it's Daniel with lacfactor.com. Today we're doing report cards and it's Spirit Airlines on the menu. Let's start out with labels. Nothing, unfortunately, is labeled on their menu when it comes to our allergens. So most products such as Cheez-Its, Pringles, we kind of know what they are and what's in them, but still it's not listed on the menu on board. It is not available in the app and it is not available online on their website. It's quite intimidating to navigate this as you only have a very small window. They come out, they pass by with their little cart, and you're gonna have to ask the flight attendant, hey, what's in this? Can you tell me the ingredients? They'll have to look at it. They can't hand it to you because they can only hand it to you if you were gonna buy it, because they can't then take it back and give it to another passenger. So they're gonna have to be trying to read it, taking their time, and you start to feel bad now because you're slowing down service for other people. So allergen guides would be quite helpful. Just some simple labeling online or on the menu when you're in flight. So for that, we're gonna have to do a 0 out of 10. When it comes to amenities, Spirit Airlines is a company that markets its services as a low-cost carrier. In order to offer discounted seats, they offer very few amenities, let's be honest. There is no in-flight entertainment and only Wi-Fi for pay. And on the many flights I've been on, I've flown on a lot of Spirit Airlines, only half of the time Wi-Fi actually works. Most of the time it doesn't function. You should plan ahead for this. Make sure to download some movies or bring a book or do something. Spirit advertises that they have the best Wi-Fi of any airline based on public data, but I haven't been able to prove that that is true. Most of the time, every time I go on there, the speed is usually 1 to 2 MB, or like I said, it's not functional at all. If this happens to you and you have purchased it, you should go on the Spirit Airlines app after and chat with an agent to get a refund. You might have to wait a couple hours, let's be honest, but you should get your money back. You have to pay for all snacks and drinks on board, including water. If you happen to be part of the frequent flyer program on Spirit, their loyalty program, Free Spirit, only the top tier gold members actually get you a free non-alcoholic beverage, which you could use as a water or a soda, and a little snack. It is worth noting that as an amenity, that when you purchase a coffee, they do come by with unlimited refills. So you probably have to re-ask them for that and just save your cup so they know you bought it. The best amenity I would say that they have is these big seats in the front of the plane. There's usually 8 of them. You do have to pay extra for that, but the planes are equipped with the front 2 rows, usually 8 seats, which are in the 2x2 design instead of the 3 seats. I've flown in domestic first class on United and American. I have to say the chairs are, for an older airline, are fairly comparable. Don't mistake it as not first class. As we said, it does not come with any food or even water. You still got to purchase that. But however, the seat, I would say, is amazing when it comes to flying the 3x3 configuration that the rest of the plane is usually designed for. So that's how it is with budget airlines. For this, I'm going to have to give a score of 4 out of 10. So next we come to cleanliness, right? Remember that an empty sitting plane does not generate any revenue. Spirit, like all airlines, need to change over their flights as quickly as possible. With their on-time rating of 60%, I got that from Forbes.com, they're constantly doing their best to improve, and therefore turning over the plane as quickly as possible is more important than cleanliness. Let's be honest, right? A cleaning crew does exist. I've watched them from time after time inside the terminal while I'm waiting for the plane. I'll see about 4 to 5 people who enter the plane. They typically have about 5 minutes of cleaning in between flights. So if we're being honest, this is hardly enough time to clean thoroughly. So when you are flying on Spirit, you should be expected to find some crumbs on the floor and on your seat. It's also common the bathroom is not stocked, and I can't say when or if ever the floors are even mopped or vacuumed clean. I recommend bringing some wet wipes just to wipe down your seat, the armrests, And always make sure to open up and clean your tray table too. 99%, that's my rating, is that the tray table is never cleaned. Again, this is not on the cleaners. It's just that they have such limited time to do this, right? Let's remind ourselves again that Spirit's mission is about being the best value. It's not about being the cleanest. So standing against other low-cost carriers, sadly the cleanliness or lack thereof is to be expected. They don't get a 0 because, let's be honest, it's not the dirtiest plane I've ever seen, but it's definitely not the cleanest. So we're gonna have to give them a 4 out of 10 here. When it comes to flavor, our taste buds will change at 30,000 feet. We all know this. Their coffee is not horrible, but it's not great either. I am a coffee master. I love coffee. For coffee to be really good, you of course need to start with good coffee. And you also need good, clean, filtered water, right? Water and coffee beans make coffee. I fear that most airlines do not take their water quality on planes seriously enough. And Spirit would be no exception here. Especially when it comes to coffee, we need to have great tasting water. So, like I mentioned before, you can get free refills on coffee. Sometimes on long flights, right? You need 2 or 3 cups of coffee if you're a coffee freak like I am. They'll sometimes offer you the same coffee that they brewed 3 or 4 hours ago. And it's not hot and it's rather nasty. Please make sure nicely to ask them, I'm sorry, this coffee tastes old, it tastes cold. Can you please make me some new ones? The prepackaged items taste fine, and they're what you would expect. Of course, with sticker shock, right? Expensive. We'll give them a 5 out of 10 here for that. When it comes to attitude, in most major airlines, the job of the flight attendant is always safety, but also serving the passengers. In the many flights I have taken with Spirit, it is reiterated by the flight crew constantly that their function is safety only. Spirit publishes that they have a vision of providing an extraordinary guest experience. In my many flights with Spirit, and I have to say, I am a gold member with them. I have flown probably over 40 flights with them at this point over the past 2 years. I have found them far from meeting this vision all of the time when it comes to extraordinary guest service. However, this is where I need to do a shout out. On a flight from Hartford to Orlando, there was a flight attendant and her name was Paula. She was unbelievable. Paula, if you get to watch this video, I hope you remember me and my family. You created an extraordinary guest experience with me and my family. We were flying to Disney for the first time. This was about a year and a half ago. And not only did you share awesome tips about the rides and the restaurants at the park, but you also sang for us. You sang for us and for everyone on the plane. Your smile and love for your customers was just infectious. Another shout out would go to the flight attendant named Carmen. Carmen, of course, is also my late aunt's name. But we had the privilege of being on her flight 3 different times. She also sings and has a pleasant, caring, and amazingly positive attitude. Now, of course, am I saying that all the flight attendants are like this and that they need to sing to create extraordinary experiences? No, I'm not saying that. It certainly helps. I love singing, right? But if you've ever been on a flight where you could feel you were a nuisance to the flight crew, then you'll know what I'm talking about. I would say in my over 40 flights with Spirit, most flight crews were just basic. They would provide their service, then they sit down and they seem as though they're counting the minutes for the flight to end. And I've literally seen them looking at their watches and at their phones, counting the minutes. The pilots, for the most part, never stand outside the cockpit at the end of the flight and thank you, like on other airlines. I've flown a lot of other airlines. I've flown a lot. And I'm just used to seeing some pilots standing outside and thanking you at the end. The gate agents at Spirit are also pretty basic. They look pretty stressed and overwhelmed most of the time. But there are some that stand out for being extraordinary, just like the 2 that I mentioned. And then, of course, there are also some that are just downright rude. So overall speaking, for a low-cost carrier that is focused on saving you money, they can get you extraordinary service, and you can feel valued sometimes. I would say most of the time, again, it's just basic. They don't notice you. They just want to do their jobs, and you are part of the output. But there is times where it is pretty amazing. More smiles, genuine gratitude could be used for a higher score. But we're going to give them a 14 out of 20 when it comes to this. So when it comes to cost, which is really their main thing here, right? When comparing their pricing, let's look at it from two different angles. First, most of the time, they undercut large US carriers. So on that front, they win by entry cost alone of a ticket. But it's also very important to remember that your base ticket, the price of that base ticket, includes literally nothing, not even a seat, right? So if you would like to choose your seat, that's an extra charge. If you would like to bring a carry-on bag, that would be an extra charge, right? You're only allowed a personal item, which would be a backpack or like a purse, right? And if they feel it's too big, they'll make you pay for that too. If you want one of those big seats, like I told you about before, there's an extra charge for that. If you would like a bag of pretzels, there's a charge for that. If you would like some water, there's a charge for that. Headphones, a charge for that. I don't even know what you'd use headphones for, because there is no in-flight entertainment systems. Thinking about my sister on the plane, because she's always like, oh my God, what's going on? Other major carriers will offer complimentary snacks. They will allow you to bring a drink. They will bring you a drink. They will allow you to bring a bag. So just be careful here when you look at Spirit's price of a ticket and what it does not include, right? So when we compare Spirit to other low-cost carriers, sometimes they could be the cheapest. Sometimes they're a little more. But again, think about everything else that you need to do. However, all that being said, I would say that Spirit is a great choice for being cheap and for getting you around. We're going to give them a 9 out of 10 when it comes to cost in their category. So for timeliness, now clearly there are many points of contact, many factors to consider when we think about timeliness for an airline. For Spirit, as I told you before, on Forbes.com, they have a 60% on-time arrival score, which puts them behind most major US carriers, let's be honest, right? And also some other low-cost carriers. They may be a little ahead, a little behind. But having flown on other companies such as Delta, American, the flight crew makes it a priority to board, to depart, to do everything. They're not shy about saying that they want to be on time all the time. Again, for all of the flights I've taken myself, personally, on Spirit, the flight crew does not share this same spirit of haste. Of all the times I've been on Spirit, I'd have to say that on-time arrivals and departures are probably a rare occurrence. Again, I'm not saying it never happens. I'm just saying it's pretty rare. While they cannot control the weather or air traffic controllers, the consistency that I've seen is that they run late. But I think anyone who frequents Spirit has come to accept this as a trade-off, I think, for getting a lower fare. Because, of course, there's also other things, right? You have the issue of baggage. If you need to check luggage, right? By the way, because remember, luggage isn't free unless you're at the top tier, the gold level, right? It can be 50 to sometimes $85 a bag. It's also common if you check a bag when you get where you're going, you might have to wait 1 to 2 hours to collect your luggage from the Spirit luggage carousel after you departed the airplane. I personally think this is unacceptable, but the airline does not offer any promise or guarantee of how speedy luggage should be made available. There are other airlines that do, in fact. And there is no federal regulation on this. It's just that your bag needs to get to you. That's kind of the regulation. And please put in the comments if I'm wrong on this. A lot of airlines will promise to do this in 30 minutes or less, but Spirit does not do this. And also, I can't forget to mention that when you call or chat with an agent for assistance when it comes to timeliness, if there's a flight-related issue, if you've been canceled, be prepared to wait on average 2 hours to try and call or chat with a Spirit agent. And again, remember, since their mission is low cost, they need to cut all of these expenses wherever possible. So since it's cheaper for them, you will often find their gates in the most remotest parts of airport terminals. So you'll be all the way in the back. You have to give yourself extra time to walk from where you came into an airport to get all the way out. In many airports, they may operate less flights than other carriers because, again, that saves them money by sharing gates with other companies and other flights, which sometimes you arrive and they'll tell you, hey, we're 10 minutes early, yes, but our gate is unavailable. And so because they're not the largest volume carrier in most airports, they don't have the same gate access. They don't have the same takeoff priority, which again leads to delays. We have to give a 3 out of 10 when it comes to that. When it comes to options, at Spirit, this is seriously lacking, right? We know that they have limited options to begin with. And when it comes to dairy-free options, it only gets worse, right? All of their snacks and beverages, as we know, are for purchase, and the menu is very small. If you're going to be flying on them, best bet for a dairy-free snack would be plain Pringles. If you're taking a long flight, bring a sandwich. That's what I would tell you. Plan to eat something either beforehand so you're hungry, or bring something on with you. If desperation sets in, if you could ask if they have any plain ramen cups available. Sometimes they have these plain ramen cups. But again, make sure to check, because I've seen sometimes when they actually do have milk powder in them. So you really have to be careful about that. But some, maybe you could get lucky. Don't use the packet of seasoning that comes with the ramen noodle. And they would also give you some hot water. You have to ask the flight attendants, can you please read it? Tell me what's in it, because you don't want to buy it and then end up finding out that you can't even eat it. What could help improve the options grade? I would say that it would be great if they could introduce some dairy-free cookies. They used to offer Oreos and then they got discontinued. Maybe some dairy-free prepackaged muffins. Anything would help. I'm going to do 2 out of 10 here. Now, reception, let's start with arriving at the airport, right? First people you see is usually ticket counter agents if you're checking in luggage. And don't forget, right? You have to pay to check in your luggage. Unless you are a Gold Free Spirit member. Remember, we get that 1 free bag, which is great. And I use that only sometimes because I don't like waiting the 2 hours to collect it when I'm going somewhere. So this is where it gets interesting. You usually come up to a Spirit ticket counter and you'll be directed over to the self-tag luggage machine, where you'll need to scan some documents, usually your passport or your license. And again, for the most part, the system usually acts up. You have to try and beg the assistant to, the person who's working there that day to come over and help you. It has to be positioned exactly properly. And again, you're hoping that there's an agent floating around that can help you. Once you do this, the computer then usually asks you a series of questions and it prints out your bag tag. And then again, you have to affix the bag tag to the bag yourself. Hopefully you know how to do this. Because if not, you could do it wrong and then they'll kind of get upset with you and sometimes even yell at you. That's happened to me. So I would say to wait and ask them, should I do it like this before you put the tag on? Because crazy enough, you're going to have to get back in line and wait to get to the ticket counter, only to give your license to somebody. And then you had already put the tag on. They're going to weigh it, make sure it's not overweight, because if it is, they're going to have to make you pay extra. So then they'll take your bag and they put it on the belt that brings it to the back of the airport to get loaded onto the plane. So just this process, I would say plan for 30 to 45 minutes. It's much, much longer than at other airlines. Some airports, they're starting to introduce like a self bag tag options, which is great. But again, this is not in every airport. Like I said, you will have to pay for additional fees for oversized or heavy luggage. So be careful about that, right? If, of course, your flight gets canceled when you show up, then, you're going to have to turn around, head back out. This is not uncommon. Again, because Spirit is usually based on cost, if there's not enough people on the plane, they might just cancel it. All right. I'm not honestly sure of the time savings that is saved from having passengers wait in line, tag their own bags, and then wait again for an agent just to check your documents. and check your bag to see if it's overweight and then put on a belt. I would say probably in my mind, I would love to just skip the kiosk altogether. But I don't know. It seems to be a rather irritating process. A lot of customers will get angry. There's usually an agent that floats around that's angry to help people. The whole thing is just rather cumbersome. And I wish they would either A, go to completely automated, which, like I said, some airports are doing, or B, just take this away and be done with it. I'm sure that there must be some cost-benefit factors in doing this for the budget airlines, which shows them that they save money. But on a practical and guest service sense, I wholeheartedly disagree with this. In my many experiences, many Spirit ticket agents, they're just not welcoming. They don't have that bright smile, that genuine attitude for helping that makes you seem so excited to be flying with them. They instead take on the feeling that they have to process you, and this is their process. They may see you as potentially not obeying that process, and therefore you need to be instructed or even yelled at, rather than just the customer in need of assistance. So this process, to me, really needs to be changed. Now, you get through security, you arrive at the Spirit gate only to find the agents there, not that excited to see you either. Often they'll make announcements about every 5 minutes about your bags and checking your bags, making sure your bags are not too big because they're going to charge you. They will remind you if you have not already paid for your bag. They're going to charge you $100 now. When you did it at the check-in on your phone, hopefully it was only $50. They're going to charge you double now. But now you finally make it to boarding. I would say 50-50 of flight crews I've been on greet you with a welcome and with a smile. I've been on, like I said, some flights that the crew was just amazing from start to finish. Smiles in the beginning, laughter, smiles at the end. But, again, unique to some certain crews. The majority, not so much. The planes are not equipped with TV, like we said, so they have to do the safety briefing in person all the time. Most flight attendants I've seen make this feel very painful. They lack genuine enthusiasm for their job. Safety is, of course, very serious. We don't need to laugh about it, but you can just make it a little bit more fun and more engaging for the customers. This flight attendant I told you about earlier, Carmen, she actually would even do a quiz and trivia after, where she would give away like a free Spirit pen for someone who remembered how many emergency exits were on the plane. And it's 8, by the way, for most of them. So I find that when they are much more engaging and interactive, passengers pay better attention. They have a more enjoyable experience rather than the numerous experiences I've had where people just, it make it painful and people don't pay attention. They're on their phones. They're not listening. Very sad. So there is, like I said, a bunch of employees that have this great love that go on, but not all of them. So 3 out of 10 here. That's going to bring our total score to 44 out of 100.
Ouch!